Hello, good morning and welcome. I'm Jo Stanford. I'm Head of the Corporate Portfolio Office for Health Education England and Head of Project Profession and your host for this festival. And thank you so much for joining the NHS Project Futures Festival opening session. It's wonderful to have gathered so many people together from across all parts of the NHS for this 5-day festival. We're going to launch the project profession, absorb insights and innovations from across experts in the field. I'm going to celebrate together as a community. We have a fantastic programme planned and want you to make the most of this short time out to learn, to share and to participate in shaping the future developments of the project profession in the NHS. So just before I hand you over to Dr. Navina Evans, our opening speaker this morning, may I just let you know about the format of the virtual festival. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen that there is a panel which includes chat, Q&A and notes. The chat is perhaps obvious. You can make comments and respond to what others have said, say hello, introduce yourselves. And the Q&A is for you to put questions to Navina as you think of them. Once they've been published, you can like someone else's question, and the questions with the most likes will rise to the top of the list. There'll be time for Q&A towards the end of Navina's sessions, and we will cover as many of the questions as we can. But as we have a packed agenda each day, we will have to stick to time. Any questions left over, we will gather the answers and we'll share them with the community on the site. So we want the festival to be fun and challenging, and so a festival game will be played all week with prizes for the winners on the leaderboard at 12 p.m. on Friday. A game code will be given on the screen briefly at the beginning of each session, like this one, for participants that arrive on time. You can write this down in the Notes tab on the right-hand side of the screen, and after the session, you input the code into the festival game page, and you'll be awarded 50 points to add to your total. All notes will save to your profile and you can send them to yourself at any point during the festival. So that means that if you hear something that you think is really useful or informative, or you want to share something with your colleagues afterwards from any of the sessions, you can make notes and save them. You don't have to write them down on paper. So at the end of each session, we will also give you a game code at the conclusion, and for those that stay to the end. So there's points to be had. If you have any difficulties at any time, you can check the info tab, quick guide, or you can message the help desk and one of the team will hopefully be able to get back to you straight away and sort out any problems you've got there. So without further ado, I am delighted to introduce you to Dr. Navina Evans, Chief Executive at Health Education England, to formally launch the event and give you her insights into the key challenges and opportunities facing the NHS. Welcome, Navina, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jo. Thank you for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with that and introduce myself. So I am Navina Evans, Chief Executive at Health Education England. I'm also, my background is as a clinician. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. And up until October of last year, I was working in a provider organization as I was the chief executive there. So that's sort of where I come from. And I'm going to bring some of those insights into our conversation this morning. I am absolutely thrilled to be opening this festival today. I'm a big fan of festivals. And in this last year, we haven't had festivals in the same way as we might have done before. And it's a really important time right now where we've been through some really, really difficult challenges as a society, as a country, as a community of health and care providers and those of us working in the sector. And whilst it's really important that we respect the suffering and the difficulties that we've all been through, it is also really important for us to carve out some time to think about what we've learned, what we need to do differently. We owe it to the people we serve to be planning for what the future is going to look like. So that's, to me, what this festival brings, a very special meaning. I'm also really thrilled to be part of launching 4 NHS-wide apprenticeships and the capability framework for the project profession. Now, this is my first time at an event like this. I think it might be the first time for many people in the audience too. And we have a question and answer session later. I'm feeling a little bit daunted to venture into this area, something new for me, but I am very excited to learn. And I hope that we will do that together. Looking at the programme, it's a great opportunity to focus on a whole range of interests and learning, but I'm particularly drawn to the focus on values, on behaviours, and the capabilities needed to deliver successful change. Now, I won't have the chance to be part of the whole programme, but I'm really looking forward to be able to go back and look at what's been recorded and to really learn at my leisure. And I hope that many of you will be able to do the same. Now, for those of us who don't know, and I didn't know before today and this week, I'd like to share some background about the NHS Project Profession Programme. Really interesting. So the NHS Project Profession Programme was set up in 2015 as a collaborative between the heads of project profession in the arm's length bodies. And it was set up to contribute to the development of the project profession for government and then to adapt it for application to the NHS. Now, analysis on ESR data suggests that we have a project workforce of approximately 10,000 across the NHS. Did you know that? I didn't. Right. And beginning with researching the best practice from across many sectors, this team initially developed an academy model and an online community of practice. Since its launch in 2017, the community has grown to 800 members. I think it feels like it's a kind of a movement for change, which is fantastic. And there are 5 core skills online learning modules on e-learning for healthcare. And these have been launched and have been accessed by over 5,500 learners. Okay. Now that is that's what movements do. I think it's fantastic. Now, from my own experience as a clinician, and then as a manager and a leader, and I worked in operations, and then I worked in a trust providing services, and I worked across systems, always looking for improvement and how we can do the best to deliver care that is value for money for the populations that we serve. I began to think through all the key people that made things successful. And a silent workforce is the project workforce that helps really at the center of delivering successful change in care delivery. And from my own experience, I look back and I thought about this over the weekend. I thought the project workforce that I kind of came across is really diverse. And the other thing to say is, across the country, there is quite a lot of variation in resourcing of the project workforce across all of our organizations. However, I have also noted that there is a kind of common characteristic in individuals who are drawn to project work. Okay, so bear with me, these are just my observations. I had noted that individuals who are drawn to this sort of work have certain qualities such as curiosity, a real desire to solve problems, not being daunted and beaten down by problems, but wanting to solve them. They often have a remarkable ability to support other people who are with their struggles, so kind of stepping up and taking a view of the struggles and helping to support clinicians, multidisciplinary teams, managers to solve problems. And these are individuals, I'm talking to you, who hold on to a vision for a common purpose that benefits the population that we all serve. And that holding on to that vision and the ability to do that is really quite remarkable. So the endorsement by the project workforce for the development of a project profession and its value to the successful development of the NHS going forward is critical. So the commitment to the next phase of the programme was agreed by 100 heads of the profession from NHS trusts. I believe this happened in 2019, October 2019, something like that, I was told. So a long time thinking and planning and where we've got to today. So since then, the programme team has been developing a collaborative vision for the profession with regional network leads, and they've been co-designing a competency model capability framework and the commissioning of the 4 apprenticeship programmes. And these are being launched to a much expanded community at this festival of learning and development, along with a week of insights from innovative speakers and profession leaders. This is really something huge. And I'm really proud to be speaking first at this huge event. And I'd also like to thank and congratulate everyone involved for your hard work and your vision from that time in 2015, slowly chipping away to get to where we are now and hope for what we can do in the future. I'd now really like to say just a few words about the session themes. First of all, I'm really pleased that the NHS People Plan has been given such prominence. The People Plan is hugely important to the work of the future. And this is something that's very important to me personally. I am the co-chair of the work with Prerna Issa, who is the Chief People Officer for NHS England and NHS Improvement. I've also been associated with the development of the People Plan over the last few years. I remember I chaired and led the development of the aims for Best Place to work stream. And this was really important to improving the experience of staff in the NHS and ultimately leading to the improvement of experience for patients and the population at large. So projects, the development of projects, the delivery of projects was crucial, central to making NHS the best place to work. It's not just about, activity, outpatient clinics, surgical data, operation list. It's actually, I think, central to making the NHS the best place to work. Now, going forward, we're all talking about a time right now when restoration and recovery is crucial. We're getting increasing focus on this quite rightly. And so much has changed for all of us in this past year. And one thing we can be certain of is a lot will change in the way we deliver health and care well into the future. We are not likely to go back to how things were in the past. We have changed in this last year. There's been much good that we've learned from what we've experienced. We've made some mistakes along the way, and we need to learn from all that's gone well and take things forward. So, skills for managing change is critical for all of us. So, the importance of improving diversity and inclusion at all levels is also a central thread to all workforce development and planning. And I'm really pleased to see that this is something that this festival is also focusing on. Providing equality of opportunity for all staff to achieve their potential and to create a powerful insight into the needs and experiences of those we serve is the right thing to do. But it's not just the right thing to do. It's also the sensible thing to do. It's also the efficient thing to do. And it's also the effective thing to do. And it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we do the right thing, the sensible thing, the efficient thing, and the effective thing. So we can and must make inclusion central to everything that we do. Now, in addition to creating the clinical workforce of the future, at HEE, we also want to facilitate the skills development for all NHS workforce. And this is to prepare ourselves and all of our colleagues in the NHS for the future of work. And within this, we think that being able to develop these skills through digital transformation and the responsibility to build a digital ready workforce is really important. A lot of this has been achieved in this last year. We've achieved so much more than we ever thought we could. So it's important that we keep up that momentum going forward. So in order to support the delivery of the long-term plan, the people plan, and the capabilities required for the future of work, our project profession will have to play a vital and central role. So this festival comes at a really crucial time in the thinking and planning for restoration and recovery. For the NHS project profession to be effective in helping to create the NHS of the future, it is vital that we develop the knowledge, skills, and experience that we needed to adapt to a post-pandemic kind of world. Okay? And therefore, to support the ambition, the NHS project and change capability framework is being launched at this festival today. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that framework can help us all to make sure that we're guided in thinking about the future of work. This is also being launched along with a learning and development guide that includes 4 apprenticeship programs to build capability at all levels of project delivery. And I really hope that we will get a lot of interest in the apprenticeship programs. Now, this is all being done in acknowledging the unique specialist skills of the 10,000 project professionals in the NHS. It's about time. It also provides opportunities and meaningful careers to retain the skills and experience required to make the NHS sustainable. So in order to achieve these aims, we need to empower all our staff to work collaboratively and to create a culture of compassion, trust, openness, and honesty to lead good change in the NHS. This right now is an opportunity for us all. I think there might be, I don't know, more than 600, 500, 700 people in this festival. It's an opportunity for us all to connect with like-minded colleagues from across many different sectors. This is a movement for change. So I am going to end with one of my favorite quotes. If people have heard me talk before, I end with this one quite often. And it's from Margaret Wheatley. And she said, "There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about." And I believe that this festival is an opportunity for a very particular community discovering what we care about. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Navina. Thank you so much. That was really, really moving and really powerful. I think it's a really great message at this point in time to get across to people. So whilst the questions are coming in, we've got a couple kind of starting off and lined up. But if I could just ask you a question from myself in terms of, you know, going forward, what do you think is going to be the important thing in terms of creating the right environment for creating the change that we want to see going forward?
Thank you, Jo. So I think we are already creating the right environment for doing this. And I think it's a learning environment, it's a caring environment, and it's actually building on what the NHS and all our partners already do really, really well. Now, the important thing as well is that we are effective in the use of our very, very precious resources. So I would like to see all of us coming together to think about how we can improve on what we've already got and build on what's working well. And I'm very keen on using improvement ways of thinking and methodology to help us to do that. And that also means letting go of some practice which perhaps is no longer, fit for purpose for the future.
Thank you. Absolutely. So we have a question from a member in the audience. So other than COVID-19, what do you think is the greatest challenge the NHS faces in the coming year?
I think the greatest challenge that we face is making sure that we look after all of each other, the workforce challenges. Now, I mean, HEE, you might say I would say that, but I think actually it is something that everybody is acknowledging. And it is something that we've been thinking about for a while. If you look at the people plan, it was all about people. So we've known for a while that, it is about people. So we can think about infrastructure and we think about facilities and we think about processes, but all of that is really important to support our people. So the greatest challenge, I think, is that we need to be looking at what works and build on supporting our people. And again, this project workforce is critical to making that happen.
Great, thank you. So the next question we've got has a comment as well. It says, exciting times and good change is much needed now. Does this feed into the plans that the Prime Minister has alluded to in his commitment in recent days about reforming how the NHS is run? Very topical one there.
It is. Now, actually, we haven't seen the detail. I think we haven't seen what actually is going to be in the bill. But what I think is that it is really important. So I can make a general statement about this. What's really important is that we are continuously looking at everything that we do. So, give you an example, in HEE, we're looking at, we have this resource. Are we really using it to the best for the people that we serve? And this has to be a continuous thing. I think every organization, every system, every team needs to be continuously thinking, are we keeping up with what the people we serve need from us? So I think that's, I'd like us to not get sort of hung up on structural sort of change and issues, but really look at how we do things.
And that's about working together, isn't it? And communicating and sharing. And
absolutely. I mean, good things happen despite the structures.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. So the next question we've got is actually around mental health, and this is an area of interest, I think. I feel that the mental health of NHS staff has become and will continue to be a huge challenge over the coming year. How can we create the right environment while considering others' mental health and capacity, as well as utilising mental health conversations?
Yeah. So, Joe, as you know, I'm a psychiatrist. Yes. And I used to work in mental health organisation. I think the first thing is that we are beginning to accept and acknowledge that we have, as staff, we have needs, and that actually the work that we do is draining, it's painful, it's traumatic, and that that's a huge step. Not that many people have actually thought about that in the past. And so that's really important. The other thing then is about this issue of movements. This year, 2021, the World Health Organization has declared it the year of the health and care worker. And one of the areas, 3 areas that they want to focus on is well-being and mental health of the health and care workforce across the world. So everyone is acknowledging how important this is. Mm-hmm. And I think just starting those conversations, being aware and having proper plans to support people and to think about prevention, support, enhancing the care for our staff. And there are lots of little things that can be done to make a difference. And they don't need large policy change to make the difference. Again, people can be empowered to do small things in their own teams with their own colleagues. And that's how these movements start and get going.
And in terms of the sort of organisational sort of commitment to that, or the system commitments, because I think some of that is about people would do it if they felt they were given the autonomy. Is that something that I think needs to be more explicit?
Yes. So I think it is. So it does need to be more explicit. In the people plan, it's quite explicit about what that we need to be having proper intervention and plans to look after one another and to look after people. And then it's sort of, but it's both ways. It comes from the organizational level, but it also comes from what people are saying and doing and what they learn. Now, really good organizations are learning organizations, and really smart organizations are the one that look for solutions from its people. And I think that sort of two-way coming together is where you've reached the sweet spot where you can really work to address these things.
Thank you. That's great. So we've got it's actually one for me now, I think, this one. I mean, you're welcome to give it a stab, but I suspect you'll want me to pick this one up. But it's, do you see HE needing a direction towards any particular change or project management techniques? Alternatively, are different teams' areas empowered to use best fit for circumstances? And do you have any favourites?
I think there is one for you, Jo. It's too hard.
So we actually have a whole session on this, on methodologies, on Thursday. So we're going to talk about all sorts of different methodologies, and it's really horses for courses. It's making sure that you use the right tool for the right job. And we will explore the different types that are available. We'll talk about how you can apply them, but also there's another dimension which is around clarity and complexity, and whether something is familiar or is novel. And those are lots of different factors that need to be considered when we look at what's the right way of tackling any particular challenge or opportunity. So so there's a whole session on that. So do join that one. It's one of the World Cafe sessions. So come along, we'll have a good debate about that one. But again,
can I add just my thoughts to a kind of more overarching thought, really, which is that methodology is important, data is important, the discipline is important, and outcomes are important. So to me, I'm not an expert, and I don't know about the different methodologies and how things work, but I think that having the discipline is hugely important, so that you can then come and explain to somebody like me and show somebody like me who is not an expert, this is working for this, and these are the outcomes. And that's really, really powerful. The final thing I would say is that please use stories. Stories bring data, outcomes, and experience to life.
That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's a really useful insight from the perspective of somebody who needs to know what's going on but doesn't need to know the technical details. So storytelling is really fantastic in that. In fact, Stephen Carver, who is our key presenter on Wednesday afternoon, he does a whole series of lectures around storytelling in project management, and he's the best storyteller around. So if people haven't signed up for that one, they really should. That's fantastic. And again, Wednesday morning, we've got Professor Eddie Obeng talking about the future of work, and another just fabulous storyteller, really brings it to life. And I think that's some of the key things that we need to learn as project professionals, is not just to have the technical skills in the background to be able to do the job, but it's how we engage and communicate people and make it interesting and informative. So we have another question, and this is, I think this is a good one for you, which is, what practical steps do you believe individuals can take to be more equal, diverse and inclusive within the NHS?
Wow, that's a
big one.
It's a big one, but I like it. I like it because it's about steps that individuals can take rather than, organizations or leaders. And that, I mean, everyone has to take. So the first thing is, it's a great point to acknowledge that as individuals, every single one of us has a responsibility to be interested, to want to improve, and to want to create a more inclusive workplace, world, society, not simply because it's fair, it's ethical, or it's the right thing to do. All of those are really important, but also because it's actually really effective. We've got to look we've got to go and look and seek solutions in not the usual places. And that inclusion is really important there. We've got fantastic skills that we lose from our sector because we're not thinking about being inclusive. So as individuals, I would say 3 things. First of all, we have all got to accept that it is something that has to improve. So I think we need to just stay away from, oh, it's all right, it's better than it used to be. It's not really a big issue in my team. It's not really an issue in my organization. It is an issue. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is to be curious and comfortable, especially if you're not one, if you don't have the characteristics that kind of need to be brought and thought about, brought to the kind of forefront. You've got to, please be curious. It's not, I was going to say you've got to, but I can't tell you what you've got to do. I could ask you to please be curious, and then to actually feel that you sit with the discomfort. And then the third thing is something that I say to myself and I will share with others, is people like me. So I'm a woman, I'm Asian. So I think I have three roles. I've got my job, which is to be the chief executive at HEE, but I've also got to be a voice, especially because my voice is being heard like it is now, to speak up around issues of race and women's issues. Actually, I have a long-term condition which I think also has an impact on how I function. So I think around disability, but for all issues around inclusion. So I have a job to speak up. So those are the 3 things I think that we need to think about. A, it absolutely is a thing. B, we've got to be curious and sit with the discomfort. And thirdly, those of us who can need to speak up.
That's great, fantastic. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing. That's brilliant. So it sort of it links in a little bit to that. There's a comment, but I suspect you'll have a view on this, and that says that we're big on patient-centered approach and feel that staff well-being is crucial because happy staff will result in better care for service users. I believe you believe in this one.
I absolutely do. And when you say it like that, isn't it obvious? Right? And yet it is something that is quite hard to do. And I've been grappling with why this is. And I think you kind of feel like you have to be, that's that kind of rescue fantasy or the heroes, I'm a hero, I'm a NHS. It is very hard to be a hero all of the time. And I think when I was working in service, I used to do a lot of work with service users, patients and carers and their families. In my old organization, they were very much part of how we ran things. And actually, they were the ones that kept raising the issue of how are we looking after our staff. I worked in a foundation trust where we had governors, and the governors wanted to see reports on staff well-being and sickness and stress and the staff survey and how we were treating them and how they felt about being at work in our organisation. And this is something that we're beginning to do at Health Education England as well. Or we've been doing and doing more of at the moment in Health Education England, just paying attention to that. There is, if people need evidence, there's plenty of evidence. The other thing is, if you look at successful organizations, not just in healthcare, but looking outside of healthcare, that actually are productive or have got really good outcomes, there is something about how they look after their people in generally that makes that possible. So for me, I want to use a, maybe it's not age appropriate, but it's a no-brainer, okay?
Absolutely, no, that's great, thank you. So this one actually links to that, and in a way, it's sort of how some of this is expressed potentially through the people plan, because the question is there collaborative work going on across NHS organisations to ensure the health and well-being of their staff during this challenging period, or is it very much each organisation planning for themselves?
Yeah, I think collaboration is improving, and there are, and this is where I think structure does help. I said something about things work across many structures, and that's true. And where the collaboration has happened between organizations, it has been because you've had maybe some leaders who wanted to do things across, or people who were working for a particular population of patients, and then that brought you together. So those sorts of things. But now going forward, there is a real opportunity around integrated care systems. And local people boards and ways of sharing learning. The other thing is this pandemic has forced so many organizations to come together and work across the whole pathways, and breaking down things like how you share information, mandatory training being recognized. I mean, mandatory training, please. When we crack that, that's when I can retire. But so there are some really simple things that we can do, and I think integrated care systems are a really good place for these questions to be asked. The final thing I would say is we need to make sure that the people who use our services, our patients and population, when they're in the room and they hear us talking about, oh, well, we can't do it because of this and we can't do it because of that, people will sort of say, this is ridiculous, just do it.
Yes. And on the ICS one, and coming together and working together and bringing, organisations together to work collaboratively, we have a whole session on Friday morning around ICSs, and we've got 3 great speakers from different ICS teams coming together to share what they're doing in their areas and share how it's all going to kind of work going forward. So so it's great for everybody to learn more about that at that session. So we have a couple of questions around the sort of project management and change. So one of them, and again, this is probably one for me, but if you have a view, I'll sort of come to you about it. But so it's the extent of the role you see of external management consultants in driving projects and strategy and change, and how is this balanced with the role of employed staff? So for me, building and growing your own capability is incredibly important. I worked at the Department of Health for 10 years, and they had a lot of very expensive contractors and consultants, and they said, well, we have to bring the contractors in and the consultants in because we haven't got our own capability. But in that 10 years, they didn't actually invest in developing that capability. And therefore, 10 years later, they were no more equipped to do it than they were at the start. So for me, this whole festival and the capability framework and the apprenticeship programs is all about us providing the opportunity to develop and grow and retain the knowledge, skill and experience of staff. Projects may stop, but project management doesn't, and there's always a new project on the horizon. There's always change. We're in a constantly evolving world. We need the skills and abilities to keep the system up to date with those changes so that we can provide that best service that we can for patients. So I think it's useful to bring in specialist skills as you need them, but for me, it's about growing our own and investing in the capability of our staff. Navina, do you have a
yeah, I do. Just from a kind of, if I was in my old role, I think some of the issues were, if you were a very small organization, it was hard to grow your own. So we have an opportunity through ICSs. So we really need to think about that. So there's a real opportunity to think about that. So The good thing about growing your own is you're really connected to the purpose. That's not to say, consultants are not connected, but they're connected in a kind of different way. You get to know people, and there's a lot of value in relationships and building relationships and having connections and making partnerships and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's also really important that we also recognize when and how using very specific expertise can be really, really helpful. So I think it would be really good that we have a system where we say, right, what other conditions where we would go and seek this highly specialist intervention or support from someone else. And it will be really sad if after, in the future, we still have a reason being, well, we just don't have the capability. So I'd like to see that disappear from our list of reasons, but we develop more nuanced reasons as to why we would seek support from very highly specialist organizations.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think for me, there's also something about looking to a future where we can use the resources that we do have more flexibly and adaptably. So it's being able to put the people with the skills in the right place to be able to deal with the challenges.
Yeah, sorry, there's one other thing, Joe. We've not only have we got organizations now working better together, and then we've got ICSs, but we've also got regional structures now. Mm-hmm. So within regions, we should be able to sort of maybe think about how we can share expertise and resources. So I think that's one of the kind of we need to explore how we can explore how we can exploit what the new structures are offering us.
Absolutely. Yes, and work on growing that and building on it. So we've got a question about sort of HE's view on sort of external academia versus practical experience with the NHS. And it says, and project management area, but I'd be interested in your view of that role, because obviously with things like nursing, there's the traditional academic route, but also there's the growing apprenticeships in many areas where people are getting those qualifications, but in a different model. So your thoughts on the value of certainly different opportunities for getting both qualifications and experience, and also at a postgrad level?
Yeah, so I think first of all, it'd be really good to sit down and have a conversation about what we mean by academia. Mm-hmm. Because I think when you do that, if you actually do that, you find that there'll be lots of different views and different layers of understanding. So for me, Health Education England is our primary focus is to serve the people of England to start off with. And I know we work with 4 countries and we train people that work across the whole of the United Kingdom. But when we think about how aligned we are to the population we serve, then it is very much about the workforce for the population that we serve. So I would be so for example, we work with the AHSNs, the Academic Health Science Networks. We work with universities. We work with medical schools. So so for me, it's really how does the work that is done connect with the development of the workforce for the people, for improving the health of the people we serve. That's our kind of USP or our role. That's not to say the really, and we need to then work with NHSIE and with the Royal Colleges and with the department and with public health and innovation for how what's our role in development of fantastic new treatments and therapies for the future. We have our role is primarily around the workforce development, and so interested to explore where that overlaps with the academic world.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm just mindful that we're running out of time. So I have one very quick short question that's come in, which is, are there any particular sessions you're most looking forward to watching at the festival this week? Put you on the spot. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm on mute.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's a couple of sessions on Wednesday, which I'm really interested in. And it's because it's connected with kind of behavior and values and bringing it to life.
Yeah.
And Joe, I've had conversations with you over this past few weeks where really you've really helped me energize to think about bringing this into everyday work and everyday language. So thank you for that.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'm afraid we are out of time, but some really great questions and some really thought-provoking insights. So thank you so much, Navina. Any last words from you?
Oh, well, thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak this morning. I hope that everyone has a fantastic time, and I'm really looking forward to learning loads over this next few days. Thank you so much.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. The next session is all about empowering teams to work more collaboratively. So if you haven't signed up, you can still join anyway. Just join the session as it starts. Alex Barker will be giving insights into the golden age of piracy and how to start a movement to cause good trouble. So some good insights for working together there. So don't forget to add your game points, and we'll put up the code for the end of the session. So thank you for staying with us to the end here. And we have a quick break now, so you can go and refill your cups, stretch your legs, and we will see you shortly at the next session. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and have a fabulous festival.